I thought I had finally moved on. 5 long years with Hannah ended when I discovered her affair with a coworker. The past 7 months have been a slow journey back to normalcy, rebuilding my life piece by piece. Never did I imagine my closest friends would betray me worse than she ever did. Let me tell you how the people I trusted most nearly destroyed everything I had worked to heal. Where are you watching from? Hit like and subscribe if betrayal from those closest to you hurts more than from a partner. Hannah and I met during our sophomore year at Northwestern University. We connected instantly over our shared love of obscure indie films and passion for environmental activism. Those early days were filled with late-night conversations about our dreams and ambitions. I still remember how her eyes would light up when talking about her plans to revolutionize sustainable architecture. After graduation, we moved in together, supporting each other through career challenges and personal growth. I worked my way up at a marketing firm while Hannah established herself at an architectural design company. Everyone in our social circles saw us as the perfect couple. The foundation of trust we built seemed unshakable. After 5 years together, I was ready to propose. I spent months finding the perfect ring, a vintage emerald, surrounded by tiny diamonds that matched the unique style Hannah always admired. I made reservations at Emilio's, an upscale Italian restaurant, where we had our first anniversary dinner. Everything was planned down to the last detail for the following weekend. 3 days before the planned proposal, I used her laptop to check our shared Netflix account since mine was charging. A message notification popped up from someone named Jake. I had never heard Hannah mention him before. Something about the preview text made my stomach drop. I know I should not have invaded her privacy, but something felt wrong. The messages revealed everything. Jake was her coworker, and they had been having an affair for 8 months. There were intimate details that tore through me like physical pain alongside plans for their future together. My entire world collapsed in that moment. When Hannah returned home that evening, I confronted her. At first, she tried denying it, but when I mentioned the messages, her expression changed. She admitted to the affair, but somehow twisted it to blame me. According to her, I had been too focused on work, too predictable, not exciting enough anymore. "You were never there emotionally, Roosevelt," she said coldly. "Jake makes me feel alive again." The argument escalated until neighbors could probably hear us. By midnight, Hannah had packed most of her belongings and left to stay with a friend. I sat alone in our apartment, the ring box still hidden in my sock drawer, wondering how 5 years could evaporate so quickly. The following weeks were a blur of sleepless nights and unfocused days. My work performance suffered dramatically. I would stare at my computer screen for hours, accomplishing nothing. My boss noticed, but gave me space after I vaguely explained I was going through a personal crisis. Our friend group fractured almost immediately. Some sided with Hannah, believing her narrative that I had been emotionally unavailable. Others supported me, horrified by her betrayal. Jordan, Lucas, Sophia, and Marcus, my closest friends since college, rallied around me. They brought food, checked in regularly, and listened to me process my grief night after night. "She never deserved you," Sophia would tell me while dropping off homemade meals. "You will get through this, and we will be here every step of the way." Marcus took me to basketball games to distract me. Lucas helped me reorganize the apartment, removing traces of Hannah. Jordan came over regularly with beer and bad action movies. Their support felt like the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart. 3 months after the breakup, I finally started therapy. My therapist helped me understand that what I was experiencing was a form of grief, losing not just Hannah but the future I had imagined with her. Slowly, I began implementing coping strategies and rebuilding my daily routines. Work became my refuge. I threw myself into projects, staying late, and taking on extra responsibilities. The dedication paid off when I received a promotion to senior marketing strategist. The increased salary allowed me to find a new apartment across town, away from the memories that haunted our old place. 7 months after the breakup, I had established a new normal. My new apartment reflected only my taste in decor. I had taken up running and joined a local book club. I even attended a few casual social events with coworkers. Though I was nowhere near ready to date again, I could finally go days without thinking about Hannah. My friends celebrated this progress as a significant milestone. "You are doing so well," Jordan told me over dinner one evening. "I am proud of how far you have come." I believed I was finally healing. I had no idea what was brewing beneath the surface. The first sign something was off came when Jordan and Lucas started declining my invitations to our regular weekend basketball games. They always had reasonable excuses: work deadlines or family obligations, but the pattern seems suspicious. Sorry, Roosevelt got to help my sister move this Saturday. Jordan texted despite mentioning just days earlier that his sister was vacationing in Europe. When we did meet up, Sophia would somehow steer conversations toward Hannah, casually mentioning running into her or hearing updates through mutual friends. Hannah looks good. She asked about you, Sophia mentioned during brunch, studying my reaction carefully. She seems really different now. Marcus became almost obsessive about my healing process, constantly checking if I was moving on properly and suggesting various self-help books about forgiveness. Holding on to anger only hurts you, he would lecture. True healing comes from forgiveness and letting go of resentment. Something felt off, but these were my closest friends. We had been through everything together, from college all-nighters to career failures and family losses. I trusted them implicitly, which made what came next so devastating. In late March, Jordan called with an invitation that seemed innocent enough. "We are throwing a surprise birthday party for Lucas next Saturday," he explained enthusiastically. "Nothing huge, just dinner at a nice restaurant downtown with our core group. You have to come, man. Lucas has been asking about you." The excitement in his voice seemed genuine. He emphasized how important my presence was, insisting that Lucas would be disappointed if I missed it. When I asked for details, he described a private dining room at an upscale restaurant that required formal attire. It sounded like a thoughtful celebration for a close friend. "It would really mean a lot to everyone if you could make it," Jordan added. "We miss the old times, all of us together." I agreed, actually looking forward to reconnecting with my friends properly. The distance that had grown between us bothered me, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity to strengthen our bonds again. I even bought a new shirt for the occasion and spent extra time getting ready that Saturday. The restaurant Jordan chose was La Maison, one of the most exclusive dining establishments in the city. As the host led me through the main dining area toward the private rooms in the back, a strange feeling of familiarity washed over me. It was not until we reached the door that the realization hit me like a physical blow. This was Emilio's, the restaurant where I had planned to propose to Hannah. They had changed the name after a renovation, but the layout remained the same. Before I could process this, the host opened the door to reveal not a group of friends celebrating Lucas, but Hannah sitting alone at a table, set for two. The room was intimate with dim lighting and a bottle of champagne already open. My brain struggled to make sense of the scene before me. Roosevelt, Hannah said softly, standing up. "Thank you for coming." I stood frozen, unable to comprehend what was happening. Hannah looked nervous, but determined, wearing a green dress that matched the emerald ring I never gave her. The coincidence seemed cruel. "Where is everyone? Where is Lucas?" I finally managed to ask, though I already suspected the terrible truth. "There is no birthday party," Hannah admitted, gesturing for me to sit. "Jordan and the others helped arrange this. They thought we needed to talk privately, away from everything." The betrayal crashed over me in waves. My closest friends had conspired behind my back, creating an elaborate lie to force me into a situation I had been carefully avoiding for months. Even worse, they had chosen the exact restaurant where my proposal plans had been ruined, though Hannah claimed they did not know that detail. Hannah proceeded to tell me how she had been working with my friends for nearly 2 months to arrange this meeting. After breaking up with Jake just weeks after leaving me, she had apparently experienced an epiphany about our relationship. She missed me. She wanted another chance. "I know I hurt you terribly," she said, tears forming in her eyes. "But we had 5 years together. That has to count for something." As she spoke, my phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from Jordan, Lucas, Sophia, and Marcus, all checking if I had arrived and encouraging me to keep an open mind and listen to what she has to say. They were monitoring the situation from afar, waiting to hear if their plan had succeeded. "They just want you to be happy," Hannah explained. "They told me how much you have been struggling, how you have not been yourself. They believe we can work through this, that we belong together." The realization that my friends had not only betrayed my trust, but had been actively discussing my personal struggles with my ex behind my back felt like a second betrayal, somehow worse than the first. The people I had leaned on during my darkest moments had been plotting to undermine my recovery all along. "Are you serious right now?" I finally responded, my voice trembling with anger. "You cheated on me for 8 months, Hannah. 8 months of lying to my face every day while planning a future with someone else." Hannah flinched at my tone but pressed on. "I made a terrible mistake. Jake was just an escape from problems I was too afraid to address with you. But losing you made me realize what really matters. And you all thought this was appropriate. I continued, my voice rising, as I held up my phone showing the stream of encouraging messages from my so-called friends. Tricking me into coming here to this restaurant of all places. What is wrong with this restaurant? Hannah asked, genuinely confused. I laughed bitterly. This is where I was going to propose to you the weekend after you left. The reservation was already made. The ring was in my drawer. Her face paled. Roosevelt. I had no idea. None of us knew that. It does not matter, I said, standing up. This entire setup is manipulative and wrong. Tell our friends their little experiment failed. As I turned to leave, the door opened, and Jordan stood there looking anxious. Behind him were Lucas, Sophia, and Marcus. Roosevelt, wait, Jordan pleaded. We were just trying to help. You have been stuck in this negative space for months. Negative space, I repeated incredulously. I was healing from a massive betrayal, and you decided the solution was another betrayal. The confrontation escalated as we moved into the main restaurant area. Patrons turned to watch as I unleashed months of pent-up emotion. You had no right to interfere like this, I shouted, not caring who heard. None of you get to decide what is best for me. You were supposed to be my friends. Marcus stepped forward, always the mediator. We are your friends. That is why we did this. Sometimes friends have to make tough calls when someone is stuck. Stuck, I echoed. I was making progress. I was finally feeling better until you all decided to ambush me with the person who destroyed my ability to trust. Sophia began crying, which only fueled my anger further. We just wanted everyone to be happy again, like before, she sobbed. There is no before, I replied coldly. That reality does not exist anymore, and what you all did today ensures that our friendship does not exist anymore either. I walked out, ignoring their calls, and pleased to come back and talk things through. The valet brought my car, and I drove away with no destination in mind, just needing to escape the suffocating betrayal. The initial rage carried me through the first hour of driving aimlessly around the city. As night fell, the anger gave way to something more frightening, a complete emotional collapse. My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. My vision blurred not just from tears, but from what I would later learn was the beginning of a severe panic attack. I managed to pull into an empty parking lot as the symptoms worsened. My heart raced so fast I was certain I was having a heart attack. My hands went numb, and tingling spread through my limbs. The world seemed to be closing in around me. With trembling fingers, I called the one person I still trusted, my older sister, Leslie. Something is wrong with me, I gasped when she answered. I cannot breathe. I think I might be dying. Leslie recognized the symptoms immediately and stayed on the phone while getting my location. 20 minutes later, she found me still in my car, hyperventilating and disoriented. She drove me straight to the emergency room. The hospital staff recognized the severity of my condition and transferred me to the psychiatric emergency department. After an evaluation, the psychiatrist diagnosed acute anxiety disorder with panic attacks compounded by severe situational depression. They recommended immediate inpatient treatment. Your body and mind have reached their breaking point, the doctor explained gently. Sometimes emotional trauma manifests physically when we push down our feelings for too long. I spent 5 days in the psychiatric unit, the reality of my situation slowly sinking in. My friends had been so convinced they knew what was best for me that they had orchestrated an elaborate deception, never considering the fragile state of my mental health or respecting the boundaries I had established for my own protection. During those 5 days, my phone remained with Leslie, who reported that Jordan, Lucas, Sophia, and Marcus had been calling and texting continuously, demanding updates and attempting to justify their actions. Hannah, too, had reached out multiple times, apparently genuinely distressed by the outcome of their plan. They want to visit you, Leslie told me on day 3. I told them absolutely not. Thank you, I whispered, grateful for her fierce protection. Jordan and Sophia actually showed up at the hospital but were denied access to the psychiatric unit when I refused to add them to my approved visitors list. According to the nurses, they caused quite a scene, insisting they were practically family and needed to make amends. Word spread quickly through our extended social circle. People I had not spoken to in months sent messages of support or condemnation, depending on whose version of events they believed. Some painted me as unstable and ungrateful for rejecting a chance at reconciliation. Others recognized the inappropriate boundary violation for what it was. By the time I was discharged, I had made a decision that would fundamentally change the course of my life. The first thing I did after returning to my apartment was block Hannah and all 4 friends on every communication platform: phone, email, social media, everything. Leslie stayed with me for the first week, acting as a buffer and helping me establish new routines focused on recovery. Before completely cutting ties, I sent one final email to the group laying out exactly how their actions had affected me. I explained the depth of the betrayal I felt, how their conspiracy had undermined months of healing, and how their refusal to respect my boundaries demonstrated a fundamental lack of respect. True friends do not manipulate and deceive, I wrote. They do not conspire with someone who caused immense pain regardless of their intentions. I cannot and will not have people in my life who believe they know better than I do what I need to heal. The email was not sent in anger, but in clear-eyed certainty. I needed that final communication for my own closure, not to invite further discussion. Their responses ranged from defensive justifications to tearful apologies, but I did not read most of them. Leslie screened the messages, deleting anything manipulative and saving only those that might someday matter to me. My therapist helped me process the compound trauma developing strategies to rebuild my sense of safety and trust. She connected me with a support group specifically for people who had experienced significant betrayals in close relationships. Hearing others' stories helped me realize I was not alone in my experience. Betrayal trauma affects our ability to form connections, the group facilitator explained. But with work, we can learn to trust again more wisely this time. At work, I developed closer relationships with 2 colleagues, Andrew and Emma, who had always been friendly but now became genuine friends. They had no connection to my past social circle, which made it easier to be authentic, without fear of judgment or betrayal. They knew only what I chose to share and respected my boundaries without question. No pressure. But we are going hiking this weekend. If you want to join. Andrew would offer, always giving me space to decline, without making it awkward. Emma introduced me to her running group, giving me a healthy physical outlet and new social connections centered around a shared activity rather than a shared history. The simple act of running alongside others without the pressure of deep conversation helped me rebuild my social muscles gradually. When an opportunity arose to transfer to our company branch in Denver, I took it without hesitation. The move provided a physical distance that completed my separation from the past. In a new city surrounded by mountains instead of memories, I could finally breathe freely again. Leslie worried about me isolating myself, but I assured her this was not about running away. This is me choosing a fresh start, I explained. Not forgetting what happened, but not letting it define my future either. 6 months after moving, I met Jessica at a community garden volunteer event. She was patient and perceptive, noticing my hesitation around personal topics and never pushing for more than I was ready to share. When I eventually told her about my past, she listened without judgment. "Thank you for trusting me with." That was all she said, understanding the weight of those words coming from someone who had experienced such betrayal. Our relationship developed slowly with clear communication and boundaries. I was more cautious now, but determined not to let fear prevent me from forming meaningful connections. Jessica understood that trust was something to be earned over time, not assumed or demanded. Almost exactly 1 year after the restaurant incident, I attended a marketing conference in Chicago and ran into Jordan at a networking event. The shock of seeing him froze me momentarily, but I maintained my composure as he approached. "Roosevelt," he said, clearly nervous. "It is really good to see you." The conversation was brief and surprisingly calm. A year of distance had cooled my anger, though not my resolve. Jordan apologized again, this time without excuses or justifications. "We were completely wrong," he admitted. "All of us. We thought we knew better, but we were just projecting our own discomfort with change onto you. I am truly sorry." He mentioned that Lucas had broken off contact with Sophia and Marcus after everything fell apart, blaming them for pushing the plan too far. Apparently, Hannah had moved to Seattle shortly after my hospitalization, unable to face the consequences of her role in the situation. "Everyone misses you," Jordan added tentatively. "If you ever wanted to reconnect." I shook my head. "I appreciate the apology, But that chapter of my life is closed. I wish you all well, but I have built something new now that works for me. Walking away from that conversation, I felt a sense of closure that had eluded me previously. I had faced my past without being consumed by it. I had stated my boundaries clearly without anger or defensiveness. Most importantly, I had recognized my own growth and prioritized my well-being above social obligation. The experience taught me that healthy boundaries are more valuable than the longevity of relationships. That sometimes losing connections that do not serve you creates space for ones that will. That forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. And that prioritizing your mental health is not selfish, but essential. As Jessica told me when I recounted the conference encounter, some people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. The trick is recognizing which is which. I still have moments of doubt and echoes of betrayal trauma. Trust does not come as easily as it once did, but I have built a life with intention, rather than habit. I have curated relationships based on mutual respect, rather than shared history. And I have learned that sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most authentic beginnings. What about you? Have you ever experienced betrayal from those closest to you? How did you rebuild trust afterward? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that setting boundaries is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. Thank you for listening, and remember that healing is not linear, but it is always possible.